So we're in a time of embodiment, and I want to speak today to what it really means to be embodied at all. So this is going to be dealing with the body, things we experience in the body, and how we can respond to them differently, and realize that a lot of what troubles us and annoys us and burdens us emotionally or sensorially, what it's really trying to communicate to us, and how it can actually not only heal but propel us forward. So let's begin with what embodiment is. But I really want to say it's quite important for me to say that a lot of approaches deal with the nervous system and the body as though if you heal the body, then everything in your life begins to heal as well, and then things come into focus, which is true enough, but it's not true that the body is the source of that healing. Just for example, finding this video means that things have been happening on spiritual, mental, emotional levels to lead you to this. This is the bottom level, if you will, of the physical action. The body level is where the alignment is experienced, or where you find the thing that brings that alignment. But it's not what brought you, it's not the cause level, it's the effect level. So the body is a portal. So the processes happen, they come into the body, and once the body is healed in that sense, or we call the nervous system regulated, the stress is relieved, then the energy that came into the body begins to flow through it, and that's why it affects every area of life. So you might hear somebody say, my body healed and then I could live my purpose. And again, there was some whole process that brought them to the point where they got the right information, they got the right help for the body to heal, and then it went through into their life. So that it's literally this is what embodiment is it's the light of the divine, and then the light of your own higher self or soul being embodied within you and then flowing through you into the world. It's thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. It's the kingdom of heaven on earth, but it's not just a movement from up to down, it's a movement through the body. So embodiment is really a soul embodiment, and the shift that we're in right now is a movement from ego to soul, to a mind control, mind tyranny type of life, where the mind is trying to control everything, including stress, which just makes everything more stressful, to a life where the soul is leading the way, and stress can arise. We're human, but it's really a paradigm of the past. It doesn't belong. And oftentimes when you're aligned, or your system is regulated more, then when there's a misalignment, it really bothers. It really feels off, right? Because you're sensitive to it now. You're used to alignment, and the misalignment feels off. And so the nervous system might even scream and say, stop, don't force this anymore. I don't want to go that way. And that's because, you could call it the body's intelligence, but everything is really divine intelligence or infinite intelligence running through the body as it runs through everything else. And so it's the soul governing now the system, the physical system, literally. So it's like a different intelligence, and it prioritizes alignment, not productivity, right? It prioritizes authenticity, not performance. So the movement begins to be very authentic. And this is all about movement. It's not about our ideas now and the spiritual teachings and all that understanding on the mental level. It's how we apply that in movement. How do you move in your life? And ultimately, it's this balance of masculine and feminine, where if the masculine was running rampant before, just chaotic, just I'll do what I want for as long as I want. I'll take from the earth as much as I want for as long as I want. The feminine kind of comes in and contains that. It's so powerful. It's a gentle force, and its power is in its gentleness, where it contains the starting and mainly the stopping of the masculine activity. When you go and you just keep going and you don't know when to stop, like the world we've been living in, the feminine is this, it brings this wisdom and this, like I said, gentle power that says stop here. And like I say, in the body, that can sometimes feel like the nervous system saying, this is exhausting, or literally the nervous system just screaming, or just discomfort. And this is the thing about embodiment. Now I'm free to talk about the body because of all this premise that I've built, where it doesn't make the body the star, but a co-player in a much, much, much larger game. And I've written a series of articles about this on Substack that I'll link below. And you can see that it's really a whole divine process in which the body plays a part, but the body isn't the star. But right now, we're in this time of embodiment. It's very, 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 very relevant to talk about this. So I was saying about the discomfort, and that's the body communicating with us. It's really the soul and the communicating with us, because what's really happening right now, whenever you're finding this video, and for many of us, February specifically is a portal month. It's like a birth canal. I speak about it like that. So being birthed into this new paradigm, and it's very we're becoming one with our higher self, what you call. So we're becoming the higher self embodied, meaning in action. I tried to speak about this back in late 24, late 24, and I had this program called God in Action. It was a little bit too soon for many people, but right now I think this will make a lot more sense. We are literally becoming the divine in action, in physical action, right? So our movements are not ego-led, they're divine-based. So when the body is signaling discomfort, stress, really a lot of what's happening is some kind of a hyper-arousal, anxiety. You might notice, I've had chronic issues for decades, so I'm really, really speaking from direct experiential knowledge. I've gone through severe insomnia decades long. I've chronic fatigue, obviously, and really at the basis of all of this is some type of an anxiety or stress. And the thing about it is that we come from this masculine paradigm of fixing things and being very solution oriented, and once I resolve this, then I can move on, or any sort of condition, or as long as I feel like this, then I can't do that. As long as this is in my life, then I can't receive that. We're blocking ourselves. I mean, I feel like so much of my life I shut myself down. I didn't let myself live because I waited for the body to feel a certain way. And meanwhile, I'm not saying anything should have been different. I understand my soul's blueprint in this life completely, so I have no regrets or blame, or I've had a lot of sadness around it and all of that, but it's it's things I've sat with and processed through the years. So now I'm sharing with you that I really understand that there's this looping mechanism with anxiety, stress, fear, hyperarousal, hypersensitivity, where, and sensitivity is beautiful, by the way. We're never going to go back and be as numb as we were, but it doesn't have to disrupt our lives. And so this is the point I'm getting to, and it's really a profound point. So perk your ears, see if you can really get how profound this is, because it's very simple, but it's also hard to get because of our conditioning. And that is that the moment we say, oh, I feel this way, so now I have a problem, and then the moment we say that, then we go into problem solving mode, into fixing mode. This is very much what the paradigm we've been in, that we're waking up out of is this fixing paradigm, not resting. You can't rest. You got to fix first, then rest. So the system is actually screaming, in a sense, for rest, but the brain doesn't feel safe, so it can't rest. It says, I have a problem to solve, so I'm going to be at this and I'm going to fix this. And until I do, I'm not really going to rest. So the stress, the anxiety, the hyperarousal remain, and we're actually in a loop of it, feeding it. You could call it a vicious loop, but whatever, vicious or not, it's feeding itself by the very fixing of it. And so it's odd because, you know, if you tell somebody who's like I was in the middle of that experience of anxiety, and you tell them, well, that's actually not an issue. It's a non-issue. Your anxiety is making something an issue that isn't. It's just anxiety, right? It's so nice to also be able to name it sometimes, because then it's less mysterious for the brain. But not only to name it, to normalize it, because when you normalize it, then the brain has less of a chance to go, well, something's wrong with me, so I'm not normal. I need to go and fix this. And the reason it's normal is because, you know, living is this kind of a thing, right? There's always going to be a question and answer. There's always going to be a problem and solution. We look at it as a linear, you know, a forward moving from the present to the future type of thing, or, you know, but you could also look at it going from the future to the present, and then it's solution problem, right? So that's just to say, you know, answer question. That's just to say that these are really one thing. It's like the yin and yang symbol. There is the black dot in the white, there's the white dot in the black, and they're really this one movement where question leads to solution, but if you were to turn it around, solution leads to the question. And so having a question or a so-called problem is not a problem. You see what I'm saying? It's not a problem. It's a part of life. It does this thing. And it's the same way where there'll be times where we're more calm, and then there will be more times of uncertainty in our lives where we're more maybe hyper aroused a little bit. Things are more annoying. It's harder to calm down. We don't feel settled. So we wave. And if you really think about it, like in the hospital, right? What happens when the line is like this? When it's flat, that's not life. So having more calm times and more anxious times is normal. It's a movement of life. But what happens is that when you take the anxious time and you make it a problem, it has a hard time coming back down to the calm. And then we call it a chronic issue. And that's what I'm saying. And it's really hard if you're in the experience of it, but it's really paradigm shattering and shifting to get it that it's actually a non-issue. And that's where the work is. You know, in insomnia, for example, you try so hard to solve sleep. You think that there's a problem with your ability to sleep, which is terrifying. When you believe that you really, really need it. I mean, I've learned a lot about what's really true about sleep, and not from the literature, from the life. And I think that, you know, I'm working now. I'm beginning to work in this field now to help people with these chronic issues, and my heart is very much with the fatigue and the insomnia, but also chronic pain, which is something that I've experienced a lot, which a lot of it also was something that I helped fix in place without knowing that I was doing that. And so that's what makes these issues often chronic, is the way we think about them. So this is like the big shift, is to understand that the very belief that there is a problem, because insomnia, there is no problem with like an insomniac's sleep drive. Actually, sleep drive is totally fine, but you can't sleep if you're hyper aroused, right? So it's very difficult. And then you might also, if you do fall asleep, then you'll not sleep and you'll wake up and not be able to have sustained sleep, etc. This video isn't specifically about sleep, but there's so much. I talk about insomnia actually as a gate to enlightenment. It's because you have to understand how you're interfering in a natural process that happens of its own. It's a mind interference, right? And so this is where the body is really telling us, like, notice your interference. Notice how you're interfering. I got this. I know what to do. Divine intelligence runs through me. I know exactly what to do. But you got to remove that interference. You got to stop calling this a problem. And there's so much more to this, and the video is getting longer than I anticipated, so I'm not going to get into this now, but there will be more videos, and you can find my information below. I mean, there's so much more to share about this, but really it's so important to listen to the body, and to, instead of running, obviously, to say there's a problem, let me fix it, rather going like, is there a problem, or is this just anxiety that I'm feeling right now, or some fear of the future, of what will happen, or this kind of idea of threat or harm, and you want to get to a place of safety. So normalizing it. This is just something that happens in life. I don't need to get rid of it. It doesn't need to stop forever for me to move on. And allowing yourself to feel it, and that's sometimes what the body is just asking for, is kind of do nothing. Just feel it, just be with it, but without the attachment to the outcome or the expectation that because I'm feeling it, it'll go away. You know, feel it to heal it is kind of like putting pressure. You don't want the pressure. You just want to feel it because you're listening, because it's talking to you. And then whatever happens, happens. But it's not a problem, and nothing's wrong with you. And I'm going to be talking a lot more about this down the road as we go. So, you know, help share a little bit, like and subscribe if this spoke to you. And stay tuned, all right? I'll see you next time.